in King's Lynn over 600 years ago. I went on pilgrimages all over Europe.
And you, sir? Who are you?
I am Sir Robert Walpole of Houghton Hall. Some say I was the most powerful man in England during the 18th century.
And may we know who you are, good sir?
I'm Thomas Snelling, madam, merchant and mayor of this fine town. In faith, 'tis a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Have you seen my family memorial in St. Nicholas's Chapel? 'Tis one of the finest.
You, madam, you look used to London society. Why is your portrait here?
I was born here in Lynn. My name is Fanny Burke. I wrote novels, diaries, and plays in the days when women simply did not write.
There you go. There's some information. So we are at the Stories of Lynn Museum, just to bring you in, and we are looking at some more exciting parts of King's Lynn. This obviously will continue to play as I am walking around. And so far we have looked at the John's Cup, and we have been round looking at the trade links.
I saved St. Margaret's Church from burning to the ground.
How, madam, did you achieve this?
I prayed to God, and he brought about a snowstorm to quench the flames.
People call me the first Prime Minister.
And you're a West Norfolk man, are you not?
Born and bred, I was MP for King's Lynn for 40 years.
I used to export cat skins to the continent.
Whatever for?
Oh, cat is a lovely soft fur, fit to line a lady's cloak or a gentleman's winter hat.
I was writing novels long before Jane Austen.
A woman publishing books? Extraordinary.
Nonsense. My autobiography was the first published in English.
There you go. Bit of interaction, and now continue this way, I guess. So now we're going into the Gaul House. Now this is the exciting part of the talk, because this is passing judgment. This is the most exciting part of the tour for me anyway. So hundreds of people have walked these stairs to discover their fate. They lead from the Gaul cells to the stone hall and courtroom upstairs, where the quarter sessions and petty sessions were held, i.e. this decided whether you were put in jail or in other various ways of ending your life. So that is so cool. And we are actually going to head into the Gaul House. Look at these incredible sturdy doors. And here we are. Look at this, look. You can even feel a breeze, which is kind of realistic. And here we have the loo. The little portaloo. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. And here we have inside the little portaloo kind of thing. Oh my god, it's so tiny. Can you imagine being in there? That's so small. So dinky. Really narrow as well. And here we go. We're going to go into, please mind your head, but we're going to step into here. And this is the Georgian Gulf from 1571. Half of the town's hall, vaulted medieval undercroft, was converted into small cells like this. So you can imagine being locked in here. To be fair, it's a more spacious cell than what I've seen before. I've been in some cells throughout the country that are really small. This is actually quite a luxury, although you'd have probably had numerous people all piled into the same thing. So the Gaul has been around since the 1800s. And in 1831, the council paid over £900 to extend it So 4 day rooms like this were built into the exercise court so that prisoners would have some daylight. So you would actually have access to fresh air and daylight without actually leaving your cells, which is kind of cool. And I do love the fact that you've got high ceilings. It gives you a sense of like, although you are obviously in jail, back then, you know, you still had a sense of trying to reform people rather than just like persecuting them. So in 1865, the Prison Act abolished all borough gaols in England, Wales, and the gaol was closed. The convicts were sent to the county gaol at Norwich Castle until a modern prison was built in Norwich. And if you go into the basement in Norwich, you've also got a dungeon down there as well. And we're actually going to Norwich Castle in the future, hopefully in the next week while the lottery ticket thing is running, so that you can go to the castle for the price of a lottery ticket. And you get the realistic chain noises and everything, which is kind of cool. So after 1601, every town and village became responsible for the punishment of minor criminals within their own little town. So instead of being sent elsewhere, you were all basically dealt with in your own town. They had their own police force, they had their own magistrates and everything. So the House of Corrections was supposed to punish people for minor crimes or bad behaviour, i.e. petty crimes, unmarried mothers, which was actually a thing back then. If you actually married out, if you had a baby outside wedlock, or if you had an affair, you could actually be in real big trouble. Obviously, prostitution, if you go back to things like Jack the Ripper, and obviously that was a high time for stuff like that. And you were in prison for short sentences of sometimes 2 to 3 weeks. So this was more about reforming you rather than like putting you to death. This was more like you stole a chicken, you spent a couple of weeks in prison, they let you out. You got caught prostitution, they kept you in for a couple of nights, they sent you out again. The idea was reforming you. So the rooms themselves, you get 2 rooms with an arched roof. They were 27 feet by 11 and 10 feet high. So there were plenty of room in here to have multiple convicts. Although the idea was to have you here a couple of weeks and then put you back out into society. But obviously there were many, many repeat offenders. So they had 4 large iron gate windows fronting the street, which is what you see here, where they would be able to get sunlight, fresh air and stuff like that. Because it was more about reforming, as I repeatedly said, it's more about reforming people than about killing them. This was more like a holding place. Obviously, if you did commit a more vicious act of like murder or something, you'd be sent to somewhere like Norwich to face the High Crown Court and a more, higher punishment of imprisonment. So each prisoner spent 22 hours a day in their cell. They were allowed 2 hours a day of fresh air. It was cold, it was dark, they received 2 blankets to keep up the cold, and it was obviously unheated. Felons were punished by whippings and in punishment, or possibly execution. It would depend on the severity of their crimes. They had wooden beds that were covered in straw, basically near enough laying on the floor. But then again, you were a convict. You're not lavishly slumbering in a hotel. This wasn't to encourage you to come back. It was more like a deterrent to tell you not to come back. The idea was not to come back. No one wants you to stay here, sort of thing. So, being a prisoner locked in the cell, prisoners who owed money or had minor commitments slept in here. They had to share a cell. Conditions were horrible. It smelled. It was dark. Swing the flap and smell the scent of the cells. Obviously, you can't, but I can. Oh, it's got that nice musty kind of ammonia / dank and dark smell, which, we all love. So, we are continuing as we go. And we are going to do the next bit in a separate video, and I will see you soon.